Hello. In this video, we explore the Federated Repository functionality in NAKIVO Backup and Replication. This feature improves the reliability of backup operations by allowing you to easily create flexible and scalable backup repositories. You can use this feature to merge standalone backup repositories into a unified storage pool, called a Federated Repository. This way, each standalone backup repository becomes a member of this Federated Repository. This feature provides several benefits. Creating a federated repository provides a simple way to expand your backup storage capacity with different types of storage to meet growing storage needs. Secondly, a federated repository can streamline backup migration workflows between member repositories to consolidate backups or optimize storage consumption. And lastly, the federated repository provides redundancy. Unlike with regular single backup repositories, if one member repository becomes unavailable due to space limitations or other issues, a backup job will not be interrupted. The solution automatically redirects backups to another member repository. Let's now look at a practical application of this functionality. I have a configured VMware VM backup job in my instance of NAKIVO Backup and Replication. I can see that this backup job has failed. We can scroll down to the events log for more information. I can see that repository C used as a target for this job is out of space. If repository C resides in a virtual machine, you can simply add an extra disk to that virtual machine to allow the backup job to resume. However, if the repository resides on a physical machine or a NAS device, adding physical storage can be time-consuming and would require additional investments. That is where using the Federated Repository functionality to extend repository C with other types of storage is useful. Here is how you can create a federated repository. Go to Settings. Scroll down to find Repositories. Then hit the plus button in the top right corner and then create Federated Backup Repository. The Federated Backup Repository wizard opens. At the Members step, you should choose the repositories or members to include in your federated repository. In this example, I add my existing repository C. NAKIVO Backup and Replication will inform you if there's a backup job already using the chosen repository. The solution will automatically reconfigure the job to use the new federated repository instead. To confirm, hit Proceed. Now let's add another repository to the pool, for example, repository B. Again, the solution will let you know if backup jobs are currently using the chosen repository, and it will update these jobs to use the new federated repository instead. To confirm and add repository B to the pool, hit Proceed. Note that only backup repositories of the incremental with full type can be added as members to a federated repository. As of version 11 of NAKIVO Backup and Replication, you can add local folders, CIFS or SMB shares and NFS shares to a federated repository. Future solution versions will support more backup targets, like cloud or other S3 compatible platforms. This is why the Wasabi repository in this list is grayed out and cannot be added for now. Moreover, you can see that a local backup repository is also grayed out and I cannot add it to the federated repository. This is because it is already a member of another federated repository. Lastly, if a repository is the target for a self-backup job, you won't be able to add it to a federated repository. In this case, we recommend that you create a separate backup repository for self-backups. Now click Next to proceed. At the Options step, you can provide a name and description for your federated repository. In this example, I use Federated Repository 2 and leave the description field empty. To finish creating the new federated repository, hit Finish. You can now see the Federated Repository 2 in the list of repositories. Click on that Federated Repository 2 to see the repositories or members included. Now, let's return to the VMware backup job to resolve the storage capacity issue. The VMware VM backup job configuration has been updated to use Federated Repository 2 with available storage space instead of the full repository C. We can simply hit Run to resume the VM backup job. Let's take a closer look at the Federated Repository settings. You can click each member repository within the Federated Repository to view the connected backups and access detailed information about each member. You can click the ellipsis next to a member repository to see the menu with the management options available for that individual repository. These options include running self-healing tasks, performing repairs, locking the repository, and running migrations. In this example, these options are not available since a backup job is still in progress. Let's switch to repository C. Here you can see the existing backups and explore all available recovery points. Now, let's check the status of the backup job. The job has been completed successfully, including the backups of virtual machines that we couldn't previously back up. We can return to the options and modify the backup repository settings by clicking the ellipsis and then edit. You can add more members if needed. For example, let's add repository A and then hit save to update the federated repository. Our federated repository 2 now includes 3 individual backup repositories. Scroll down and you can see a consolidated list of all backups within the federated repository. Continue scrolling to see any relevant events. Let's say you don't want backups to run to a specific member of your federated repository. In this case, you can lock that member repository. To do that, hit the ellipsis next to the repository, and then select Lock. A message then appears informing you that saving new recovery points to this member will be suspended. However, recovery jobs are still supported for existing backups stored in this repository. Simply put, you cannot back up to the specific repository, but you can still recover data from it. To confirm, click Lock. If you want to free up space in a member repository, you have 2 options. 1. You can keep the member locked while the old backups are automatically erased based on your retention policies. 2. You can move existing backups to other members of the federated repository. Let's again hit the ellipsis next to the member repository C and this time select Migrate Backups. A message is displayed to inform you that backups from repository C will be migrated to other members of federated repository 2. And this will require 2.5 GB of free space. Note that backups are only migrated between members of the same federated repository. NAKIVO Backup and Replication uses an internal algorithm to select the most suitable member repository to receive the migrated backups. Confirm the migration by hitting Proceed. You can monitor the migration process in the Activities tab, and you'll receive a notification when the migration has been completed. The status of repository C has changed to migrating. Currently, the member has 6.1 GB of free space now. Once the migration is complete, this figure will be updated. Now the repository C status is back to locked. We have successfully freed up space, and this member repository now contains no backups. If necessary, you can also remove a member from the federated backup repository. To do that, hit the ellipsis once again and then click Remove. A message appears to inform that the member will be removed from the federated repository and treated as a standalone backup repository without existing jobs associated with it. Hit the Remove button to confirm the action. You can use a federated repository as a destination for any backup and backup copy jobs except for Oracle database data. Additionally, federated repositories support a wide range of recovery options, including full virtual machine recovery, file-level recovery, object-level recovery, backup export, universal object recovery and flash VM boot. As you can see, the federated repository functionality can be useful in different scenarios to improve the reliability of your data protection activities and streamline administration. And that concludes this video. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, click the like button, and subscribe to our channel to catch new uploads. You can also download a free trial version of NAKIVO Backup and Replication using the link in the description and try the solution in your own environment for 15 days.